Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.
You give yourselves up without a struggle, we'll try and make things easier for you.
And if not, you may be severely pummeled about the head and shoulders.
Pow! Wheel! Top! Lunge! Pow! He's out!
What is the world coming to?
We can't stop to worry about that now. Our task is to fight crime.
It was a show that made TV history.
BATMAN.
And turned camp into cool.
To me, it was so enormously fresh and funny, I couldn't resist it.
It exploded onto the pop culture scene and transformed the dynamic duo of Adam West and Burt Ward into superstars overnight.
If I had a paper cup or something, I'd set it down. People would almost get into a fist fight trying to get that cup as a souvenir.
Its heroes stood for what was right.
Watch it, chum. Put us in safety.
Oh, sure.
And fought tirelessly against evil.
It was brilliantly written, brilliantly cast. It was perfect.
But on-set tensions sometimes plagued its caped co-stars.
Behind our masks, we're perfectly ordinary people.
And typecasting nearly ruined their careers.
Do you recognize me?
Those guys looked at you like, oh no, well, you're typecast. After filming Batman, that's all you can do.
But what's the real story behind Batman's extraordinary roller coaster ride? Stay tuned. This is the Bat Time. This is the Bat Channel. Since his creation in 1939 by artist and writer Bob Kane, the shadowy superhero Batman had been a fixture in comic books and movie serials. The alter ego of millionaire Bruce Wayne, Batman, with the help of his trusty sidekick Robin, kept the streets of Gotham City safe, fighting crime as a serious and righteous avenger. But in the mid-1960s, he would take on a whole new attitude. At that time, television networks CBS and NBC were dominating the ratings with family-oriented shows like The Munsters, Lost in Space, and Daniel Boone. In an effort to compete with its more successful rivals, struggling ABC approached 20th Century Fox and veteran producer William Dozier with a plan to create a series based on the Caped Crusader.
I bought a dozen of the comic books of various vintages. So I read all these things, and I thought, they must be out of their minds. You know, it was all so juvenile. And so then a very simple idea struck me, and that was to overdo it. And if you overdid it, I thought, it would be funny to adults, and yet it would be stimulating to kids, the daring do, but you had to appeal on both levels or you didn't have a chance.
Dozier then developed the pilot script with television writer Lorenzo Semple Jr. and began looking for actors, particularly those with a background in drama who also had natural comic timing.
It was a tough search because you've got to find an actor who is prepared to play Alice in Wonderland as though it were Hamlet.
An agent came in and he showed me an 8x10 of a guy with a surfboard. He said, what do you think of this fella? I said, who is he? He said, his name's Adam West.
Actor Adam West had been working steadily in Hollywood for 6 years, appearing in numerous television shows and feature films, mostly dramas and westerns. His only real stab at comedy had been opposite the Three Stooges in The Outlaws Is Coming. In 1960, he had captured a recurring role on the hit TV series The Detectives, starring Robert Taylor. But none of these parts tapped into his most remarkable quality, his gift for quirky, deadpan humor. In 1965, however, it was that comic flair, which he used to send up the current James Bond craze, that impressed William Dozier.
see automation displaces labor in your organization too, Dr. Sloan.
Ah, Captain Q. Join me in a glass of delicious chocolate quick, won't you?
Thank you, Doctor. I could use some energy. Incidentally, one of those torpedoes you fired at me was circling, and you're sunk.
Toodaloo, Captain Q!
Some people will do anything to get rich quick. Toodaloo.
Initially, however, Adam had serious doubts about playing a cartoon-based character.
My agent called and said they want to see at Fox about doing Batman. I said, you're kidding. I'm trying to have a serious career here. You know, get off my phone. And he said, no, I think they've got some different ideas. I said, okay, I'll go see him.
In the meantime, Charles Fitzsimons continued interviewing younger actors, hoping to find the other half of the dynamic duo, Robin.
We were looking for a young kid, and my assistant, Charlie Fitzsimons, came into me one day and he said, I think we may have found our boy.
Burton Jervis was a wannabe actor and college student who was selling real estate on weekends to help pay the bills.
Got an exhibition. What are you going to do now?
Well, I'm going to do a couple of throws and a couple of falls.
Falls? You're going to take the falls yourself?
Right, I'm going to do the falls first, and then I'm going to take the throws.
All right, let's see a couple of falls.
Burt was only 20 years old when he tried out for the role of Robin and Robin's earnest alter ego, Dick Grayson. It was his first audition as a professional.
That's a shoulder throw. So I met Mr. Dozier, and he says, you look just right, but the only problem is you're kind of big. I said, oh, sir, I promise you, I won't grow anymore. And he laughed, and he says, I like that.
Dozier loved Burt's combination of enthusiasm, sincerity, and all-American good looks, and thought he would fit perfectly with Adam's straight-faced approach to Batman.
Look, between the lines. When is the time of a clock like the whistle of a train?
When it's 2 to 2. 2, 2, 2.
Right you are.
Holy caboose!
But the network insisted on seeing a second pair of actors, so the producers filmed one screen test with Adam and Burt and another with Lyle Wagner and Peter Dayel.
Look, between the lines. When is the time of a clock like the whistle of a train?
When it's 2 to 2. 2, 2, 2.
Right you are.
Holy caboose. Here's another one.
What has neither flesh, bone, nor nail, yet has 4 fingers and a thumb?
A glove.
Roger.
2, 2, 2. A glove.
It's an address. It must be an address.
I get it. 222 Glover Avenue.
You've done it, chum.
You've done it, chum.
After viewing both screen tests, ABC agreed to sign Adam West and Burton Jervis. But Burt decided that people wouldn't know how to pronounce his last name, so he changed it to Ward. With the dynamic duo in place, William Dozier quickly cast the supporting roles with veteran actors. Neil Hamilton as the concerned Commissioner Gordon, Stafford Repp as the Commissioner's right-hand man, Chief O'Hara, Alan Napier as the loyal butler Alfred, and Madge Blake as Bruce Wayne's doting Aunt Harriet. Dozier then turned his attention to the show's style. He decided to shoot in color, still relatively new to television.
The use of vibrant colors in the costumes, in the sets, I'm sure no one had touched anything like that before, because you had these incredible reds and greens. Even Batman had the bright blues and yellows. These were colors you would see ordinarily in a comic book, but I doubt anyone had translated them so literally to the TV screen before.
Dozier also planned to include many fun gadgets and props, and hired world-renowned car customizer George Barris to design and build a distinctive, definitive vehicle, the Batmobile.
In '65, I was contacted by Dozier. We're doing Batman. We got to have a Batmobile, but we don't want it to look like Bob Kane's 1937 Lincoln Zephyr with a cutout bat face on the front. We want something a little bit more modern. What can you do for us? I says, great, let me give you some ideas and some sketches. The real car was a concept Lincoln Futura. I took this steel body and we reformed this dual cockpit car for Adam and Burt. I wanted to incorporate the bat features into the automobile. That means that the bat was part of the car. The top of the fenders where the headlights were the ears. The mouth was the grill. The nose was coming off the hood, and it had a chain slicer that come out. It was quite exciting. We got kind of a big thrill out of it.
But Dozier and his writers knew that however stylish and hip they made it, the success of Batman rested entirely on the audience getting its unique brand of humor. In the summer of 1965, they set out to capture that humor on film in the show's pilot episode.
There was one line in the pilot that was put in deliberately to set the tone of the humor. And that was when Batman walked into a nightclub in that ridiculous outfit.
Please, it's Batman!
And the maitre d' came up and said,
Ringside table, Batman?
Just looking, thanks. I'll stand at the bar. I shouldn't wish to attract attention.
That was the key for the humor in the show. That offbeat humor, joking against the characters.
Stand clear.
Unfortunately, the first test screenings held by the network to measure audience interest were disastrous.
It was the lowest rating they had ever had on anything. Now, had they not already bought the show, ABC, it would never have gone on the air.
But ABC's lineup of shows in the fall of 1965 was failing miserably, so executives decided to debut Batman in the coming January as part of the network's so-called second season. They even concocted a huge media blitz to promote the premiere. The pilot episode would introduce audiences to the fictional metropolis of Gotham City and its costumed crime fighters, Batman and Robin.
Batman speaking.
It would also highlight the maniacal exploits of one of the dynamic duo's arch enemies, the Riddler, played by well-known impressionist and character actor Frank Gorshin.
I loved the whole thing. I loved the role, loved the idea of playing that role, and enjoyed doing it.
Hold it, Riddler.
Kids ask me if I still have my green tights.
The game's up, Riddler.
Snap on the bat cuffs.
You've got me, Batman.
The show would also tantalize viewers by airing 2 nights a week, with the first night featuring a cliffhanger ending patterned after the old Saturday matinee serials.
It wasn't planned for 2 nights originally, because we shot them as 1-hour shows. And then it was decided to break them up into 2 half hours for exhibition, 2 nights in a week.
To make the new structure work, William Dozier needed a narrator, but nobody he auditioned seemed quite right, so he handled the job himself.
Will Robin escape? Can Batman find him in time? Is this the ghastly end of our dynamic duo? Answers tomorrow night, same time, same channel.